In the legal world, there is a combination of forces that feed a corrupt and suffocating legal system for attorneys. Law schools, law professionals, judges, and even the firms themselves for whom you work create a system, a matrix, if you will, that is nothing like what you thought when you passed the bar exam. The purpose of this podcast is to help you escape this legal matrix, leading you out of the proverbial desert to be free of the bondage of the matrix. Hosted by Bryce D. Nyer, attorney at law with over 30 years experience in the trenches of civil and criminal litigation at the state, federal, and international levels. He's a highly accomplished and resourceful legal professional, a true master of his craft, and he's here to help you get your life back. Here's your host, Bryce D. Nyer.
All right. It's another episode of Escape the Legal Matrix with yours truly, Bryce D. Nyer, in the house from Fayetteville, North Carolina. Woo! And we have Drake, our Labrador Retriever, in here. For another week, another episode. Guess what we're going to talk about tonight? Something a little bit different. Something I think that is vitally important and near and dear to my heart. Ish here. We're going to talk about podcasts, the last frontier of what, baby? Of media freedom. Yeah. It's true. So listen, I've had my podcast for a couple of years. It started off, I think, 2023. Didn't know what I was going to do, where it's going to go. I'm still kind of working through my life. But my producer, Bryce Prescott, my brother of a different mother, who is superb and one of the best in the nation, and has worked with many bigwigs. Really, a lot bigger than me. But here's the thing. In today's world, you find that many voices are censored. I mean, come on. Let's look at the last 10 or 20 years. All this stuff that started about the mainstream media, the fake news and stuff. Because, come on, I'm going to be honest with you. This is my opinion, but I'm not alone in this. It is fake media. They're just like puppets, man, with some puppet master. And you know what I've noticed over the last couple of years? That when you have certain platforms, if you can get your message out there, it can make a fundamental change. And I think that, and I'm not a big President Obama fan. I'm just not. So I'm straight up with you. I'm just not. But I'll tell you what he did right when he ran his campaign. He understood about social media. He understood how to get to the voter, especially to the young voters. And you may or may not like Trump, and that's, again, I don't care who you like. So, but when he ran this last time with his son Barron, who's exceptionally young but bright, I don't care which say he is, he convinced his father, hey, you need to go on like podcast. I think he went on Joe Rogan. I don't remember. I think it was something of that nature. Anyway, they realized the power of a podcast. The power of a voice can carry. Now, there are many platforms, again, that try to censor and to spin it and have a globalist one world order narrative. Again, that's my opinion. Millions share that opinion with me, and there are people that do not. But one thing is for sure. If you leave the power of communication in the hands of a select few that control what the message is, your freedom is done. It is over. It's just gone. It's not even there. To even pretend it's there is ridiculous. You see this more and more in today's world, especially in places like the EU and the United Kingdom. Now, I still cannot to this day, and I'm going to rag on the United Kingdom, I cannot believe what they do. They are so Orwellian and so utopian, and their command and control structure of their population. It's unfathomable to see what has happened to the UK in just the last few years. I mean, look at England, look at Scotland and Ireland, and even look at Australia and New Zealand and Canada. It's crazy. It's insane. It's delusional. It's deception. But the power of a podcast, the power of your ability to get your voice over the airwaves to where somebody can hear it. And when people say, and I thought about this too, okay, look, I know I don't have like millions of followers, at least not at this point, but there have been many people in the world that started out of a garage or started with nothing but an idea. And they took that idea and they comprised a message. And they began to get the message out. And the message began to spread. And then the message had spread so far and wide, you could not contain it. And see, that's the power of a podcast. That's the power of the airwaves. Because you're not going to get it on TV. I can tell you that. I mean, back when I was a kid, you only had like 3 or 4 networks: ABC, NBC, CBS. We had the UHF channel. They showed Shock Theater. That was great. But you had like 3 or 4, and you'd get up on the roof and turn the antenna and all this kind of stuff. And people didn't know any different. The news was different then. It was actually reporting. But the reality is, I think the media has always been controlled in one way or another. But the minute the advent of the internet came and social media and different platforms, people began to realize the power of the voice. And the power of the voice began to capture the imagination, to hook people in, and to really change the mindsets of people, hopefully in a good way. Some not so good. But there's power in messages, and you have to be careful because there's a lot of deception. I don't like AI. I've never liked AI. I understand it's a powerful thing. I use it a lot of times for financial calculations, but it's dangerous because it replaces the critical thinking that human beings need to do. And no matter what happens in this world, AI is still artificial at best. There are many that I was reading today of Christians that, pay attention, a lot of people, to the end times. And they go back and they look in scripture in the Bible about the message, how in the end times that is predicted by prophecy, or especially when you read Revelation with John, who lived and was exiled on the island of Patmos, who, according to scripture, was brought up to heaven to see the end times and then go back and write it down. Of course, he couldn't understand what he saw in the language of his day. He described it in the language of his day. But it's clear looking at it now, he's describing, almost present day with the machinery, the war machines, and what appears to be possibly, AI. So you want your message to be real, to be raw, to be relevant. That's one thing I learned in Wake Up Warrior. It's one thing I learned with Bryce Prescott. You got to be real and you got to be raw and you got to be relevant. But your message, above all, it has to be truthful. I never really considered podcasting at all until about 2023 when I met Bryce Prescott in this breakout session. And he came to Wake Up Warrior, and we were all in this video conference. And I said, okay, I'm going to give it a shot. And I've spoken about this a few times, but I think it's even more critical and more important in today's world that people have a voice, that they each have. I think everybody should have their own podcast. You just don't ever know what you're going to learn. You don't ever know that somebody's saying or their experience or a new product or a new service, it may be what you need. It may be what you need. And the biggest thing that we all need is discernment. We can't have discernment at all if we don't have the freedom to communicate our message or to hear the message of other people. And you have to discern between good and evil. There's no question in my mind that Jesus has a message of light and salvation and good, and Satan has a message of, hey, be the world. Do what you want to do when you want to do it. Free love. Okay, 2 different messages. And so when you're looking out in this world and there's all these people, at least there is an open playing field for now, that allows us to communicate messages. Now, that's not to say that a lot of these huge multi-billion or trillion, close to $1 trillion media platforms aren't suppressing messages. But once a message catches fire, it's a blaze, baby. It's a wildfire that you just can't stop. And it blazes away. And you can try and extinguish it, but once the cat is out of the bag, once Pandora's box is opened, it just doesn't go back in. Think about even like scripture and Christianity. People have tried to say, burn the Bible, destroy it, and here we are. 2,000 years later, I'm still in publication, still the number one seller. Still the number one seller. And there's still a message out there. So I would say this to any person, no matter what age you are. Get your message out there, especially if it's a good message. Get a podcast. Get your voice heard. Because if we do, once these freedoms are gone, they're going to be gone. And I'm not, I see the world as it really is. And some people say I'm like Debbie Downer and I'm just looking at all the negative. No, I'm looking at the reality. I'm looking at what has factually happened, especially over the last 10 years. And even in the last 5 years, 6 years. You should have seen that during COVID when they were shutting everybody down in such Orwellian control. It should have really scared you. It should have. It should have really scared the living hell out of you what happened during COVID. This is why it's so important to be able to get a message out there, because honestly, you can't trust your governments. And what? You think the people up in Washington, D.C., United States of America, that have Potomac fever are really looking out? There's a few that are decent and good and want to do the right thing. But the majority of this world, man, they're just living in delusion and deception. And the only way to break delusion and deception is to be able to have the freedom and the opportunity to relay the truth around the world. Without truth, we're nothing. Really, seriously. Without absolute truth, we're nothing. Think about it when you've gone to court before and people have said things about you that you knew were not true. And it's hard sometimes to disprove it, especially in family law. That happens. Most of you out there have been through divorce. You've been through cussy battles and stuff like that. And people have accused you of stuff and said stuff, but you wanted to get your message out and then you got cut off by the judge. Well, you ran out of time. How did that make you feel? See, that's a controlled environment, sometimes too controlling. The day that truth dies is the day you lose the war, when you can't get the truth out there. So I'm going to suggest to you that you get your own podcast. And I'm going to suggest to you, and Bryce Prescott didn't ask me to do this at all, but I would suggest you'd reach out to him. You can find him on every major social media platform. You can find him on them. You can watch his podcasts, his videos. They're posted. Because of nothing else for me, if I do nothing else in life, then at least I have the opportunity and the privilege of getting a message out there. Because one day I sat in this meeting and this guy came on and said, "Hey, I'm going to talk to y'all here in Wake Up Warrior. This is what I do. This is what you guys need to do, guys and girls need to do." And see, it was a message. One man, one message. And for me, no matter where my podcast goes, whether 5 people hear it or 15 people or maybe 15 million, it's just the ability and the freedom to speak truth while truth still lives and is not contained. Because in the end, the truth will win. It'll be beaten, it'll be scarred, it'll be weathered, but in the end, the truth will win. This has been Bryce T. Nyer, another episode of Escape the Legal Matrix, and we are out of here.